Hey friends, Anna here, and welcome to another cozy and autumnal bullet journal setup. I've had the idea for this theme for a while now, but I was waiting for October specifically to make it, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. I'm also excited about some new spread formats I'm going to try out next month. Grab some tea or coffee, get cozy, and let's get ready for October. We're starting off on this right side, which will be my cover page. I'm using my Pigma Micron to start on the drawing, and we are doing a black cat theme for October. I've always wanted to do a cat theme because I have 2 cats, but I don't typically draw animals or humans, so I didn't really know how to go about it. But then I thought just a silhouette with maybe some complementary flowers could be a bit easier. And then I thought a black cat theme specifically would be perfect for spooky season in October. I'm drawing the flowers that will be surrounding the cats first to avoid smudging. I'm using the 01 size of my Pigma Micron fine liners for the initial drawing and then switching to the 005 size for the smaller details. These florals are based off of a drawing I saw on Pinterest of a pumpkin actually, but I thought that mix of flowers and leaves around this pumpkin looked really good, so I'm going to recreate those elements but in a way to fit around these cats. There's a few different drawings here. We have a pretty basic flower, some bigger jagged edged leaves. These would maybe be a type of oak leaf. We have some smaller, skinnier leaves, and then these little berry type things. I don't really know what these ovals are with the little hairs on top, but I often do add some berry-like shapes when I do mixed florals because the round shape is a really nice contrast. For the detail work, I'm just drawing some contour lines coming from the center of the flowers and around some of the edges of the oak leaves and berries, and I'm giving these smaller leaves a single vein down the center. Just these simple details make the drawing look a lot better in my opinion. Now to add the color, I'm pulling from a few different marker sets, a few Tombow brush pens, some Ohuhu brush pens, and zebra mild liners. I'll list all the colors in the description box below, and there's also links to all the supplies I'm using in this setup. I wanted the color scheme to feel very warm and autumnal. I also chose to stick with primarily shades of orange because I wanted to give a subtle Halloweenish vibe with the black and orange since it is October. At this point, the drawing looks pretty weird without the cats. The florals look just a little bit bizarre on their own arranged this way, but I promise it'll look a lot better in a second when the cats are colored in and it all comes together. Now it's finally time to add the cats. I'm using my Pigma graphic to do the outline, and then I'll switch to a Tombow brush pen to color it in. Like I mentioned, these are just going to be the silhouette of the cat, so they actually weren't that hard to draw. This whole setup is beginner friendly and time friendly, I would say. It's so satisfying to fill in the cats and see it all come together. And I'm so sorry guys, but I apparently forgot to press record when I wrote the title, so you'll see it magically appear in a second. I used the copper shade mild liner to write October, and I also added some stripes of my lightest orange because I felt like there was too much negative space between the left cat and the title. I still thought I could use a little something else though, so I'm adding some color dots from each of the main floral colors, and I think that ties it all together perfectly. Now moving over to the left page where I'm going to put a calendar and some habit trackers. I'm titling the section for the calendar up top Fall Days because I felt like writing October was redundant. It's literally written right there on the other page, and Fall Days has a very cozy vibe. Since days had an adjective in front of it, I felt like habit should have one too, so I labeled that section steady habits, also just trying to manifest consistency here for these habits. I have really been wanting to focus on consistent habits and productivity during this busy fall season, and the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare, has been a huge support in that goal. If you guys have been around here for a bit, you know I'm a big fan of Skillshare. They are the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts across illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and more. I just finished Ali Abdal's Productivity Masterclass. You guys might recognize Ali from here on YouTube. He's a huge productivity guru, and this class was an amazing, succinct summary of all his best advice on this topic. One of my favorite parts of Skillshare is their Learning Paths feature. I am constantly on the journey of improving my art, so having a curated sequential class collection to master a specific skill is so helpful. Each class is designed by creatives for creatives using a learn by doing approach, so you actually get the option of completing a class project for each class and getting real feedback from the community. If you want to join this growing community, Skillshare has given me a special deal for you guys. The first 500 people to use the link in my description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so be sure to go check that out. Getting back to the spread, we're going to use this bottom area of the page for a habit tracker. I'm drawing a box for 4 different habits. Each of these boxes will be 16 by 2 squares, and then I'll go ahead and number them with each day of the month. In a second, I'll add a color next to each box, and my plan is to use those colors to highlight each day I complete that habit. Here's a picture of my almost completed September tracker so you can get the idea. Lastly, I'm labeling each habit over the color highlights in a simple cursive font. I'm tracking the same things I did last month: exercise, meeting my daily water goal, doing my daily ideal skincare, and getting 8 hours of sleep. That last habit is 100% the one I'm worst at, but overall, I'm actually really happy with how consistent I was with using these trackers last month. I had gone a little bit without doing any trackers in my bullet journal and had just started incorporating them again last month, and I think the novelty of having the trackers again gave me a little extra motivation to check them every day, which in turn is a great motivator to actually doing the habits. This calendar on top isn't for any function besides just letting me see an overview of October. We're actually going to do a monthly log for all of my events and things on the next page, so I wanted to just add some art to the left of the calendar here. We're going to draw another cat standing on some florals, and I'm starting with the flowers again. I love the shape of this cat. You'll see he's going to be kind of batting at the calendar like he wants to play. I got all my inspiration for these cat figures based off of some pictures I saw on Pinterest. I'll link all the inspiration pins below. But getting better at human and animal form drawings is something I do want to work on, so I don't know, that might be another Skillshare class in my future. When coloring these florals in, I am adding the teeniest bit of shading. I just go over any contour lines to maintain that depth. We're going to finish off this page by coloring in the cat figure. And then guys, I forgot to press record again, but you'll see I'm also going to add some more of those color dots in some of the negative space. I hadn't planned on those when I first sketched out these spreads, but I loved how they looked on the cover page, so I ended up incorporating them throughout the entire setup. This next spread is going to be my October log. I've been using this layout for most of 2024 ever since reading Ryder Carroll's book, The Bullet Journal Method. This is the easiest and fastest calendar setup I've ever encountered, and it's also very efficient in space. I'm writing the title with the fine tip side of my copper mild liner, and then I'll go back to make some of the strokes thicker, kind of like a faux calligraphy. Each date and day of the week for October is listed on the left side of the page, so each day has its own row where I can write my events, travel, due dates, things like that. Having the full line, I think, actually gives me more space to write things than when I draw a full boxed calendar that takes up 2 pages in my journal, so that's one reason why I love this spread. There's not a lot of extra space though, so we're keeping the art very minimal. I'm drawing some more of those florals in the top left corner, and I'll do an even smaller arrangement to the right of the title. I'm also eventually going to add a cat at the bottom of both these pages, so it will span this spread and the next one. The only thing I don't love about this layout is that my brain can visualize the month better with a drawn out calendar. That's why I had the calendar on my previous pages, and I also put a mini calendar in my weeklies. But to help my brain see each week better, I'm drawing horizontal lines to separate out each week in the log. I also might start highlighting each day in the log once it's complete, so I can easily see what's in the future versus the past. That just occurred to me, and I really like that idea. Moving over to this right page, which as you can see will be for tasks and notes. I wrote the titles with the mild liner again, and I'm using this really desaturated Ohuhu pen. This is the same shade I used to color in the small leaves to draw some highlights and grids to designate each section. Even if you don't have any time to draw a single thing in your bullet journal, which let's face it, we've all been there, adding these grids and highlights is such a fast and easy way to elevate any spread. These 2 pages are where I do the bulk of my month's planning, so of course this top area on the right page is for my monthly task list, and the bottom section is for really anything I want. That's why I labeled it notes, because that could encompass a lot of different things. I could use this for setting intentions at the beginning of the month, or I could use it to track the progress on a bigger project. I find that each month I have different sections that might be appropriate to include, so notes is kind of my catch-all when I don't yet know exactly how I'm going to use that space. To decorate this spread, I'm drawing a cat at the bottom in the middle of these 2 pages. This cat is stretching out, which I think is so cute because I love when my own cats do this pose. It's like they're doing the downward dog in yoga. I do own a black cat, Coco. She's actually a tortoiseshell, but mostly black fur, and I think she does approve of this theme. We did a whole little photo shoot, which I'm going to be posting soon on Instagram, so go follow me over there if you want to see more photos of me posing my bullet journal with my cat like a complete nerd. To finish this spread, I'm adding some leaves around the titles, and I'm also going to add a few more color dots above each section. Again, I just love those. And that's my completed monthly log and tasks. Now moving on to a new spread layout that I'm trying out for the first time. This is going to be a weekly reflection spread spanning the entire month. I'm writing the title up top with that same faux calligraphy style, and then you'll see me separate these pages into 4 sections, 1 for each week. I used to be a lot better about incorporating reflections into my bullet journal, but I've kind of fallen off this lately. For October though, I decided I really wanted to get back into the habit of doing a weekly reset ritual on Sundays. I feel so much more put together when I go into the week with clear plan and goals, and an essential part of having that vision is reflection. So each of these boxes I'm drawing here will serve as a pre-designated space to reflect on each week. There was a really great discussion on this in the bullet journal method, but reflection is such a powerful tool to enact change because by looking back on what worked for you, what didn't, what were barriers to success, that's where we can actually figure out personalized solutions to what we're trying to achieve. I've also found that it's really beneficial to my mental health and motivation to write down any wins or successes, no matter how seemingly small. If I can write something down like, I'm proud of completing all my runs last week, that is a huge motivator to continue running the following week. It's easier for me to spend more time reflecting on things that went wrong or that I want to improve, but I find that if I can make sure to write down some positives, my mindset is so much better to actually work on any of the improvements I was thinking of. But anyways, back to the actual spread. I'm breaking up the boxes with a few more cats and flowers. These are going to be two kind of inverse drawings of a cat lying down. I forgot to color in the flowers before drawing the cat on this one, but my markers actually didn't smudge on the black of the Pigma graphic at all, so I was really impressed by that. This was a really simple spread layout, but I'm very excited to have some structured weekly reflections in October, and if I like this format, I'll probably continue using it. I'll keep you guys updated in my next plan with me. I was originally going to draw some flowers in this top left corner, but I thought it would be easier and actually probably look better to just bring in those colored circles. And that's it for my reflection spread. Now moving on to the last spread for this setup, my first weekly for October. Well, kind of. I'm going to change up my approach to this spread a little bit and not confine it to a certain time frame, but we'll get to that. I'm starting by labeling the top left corner with October and creating a mini calendar. The way I have been formatting my weeklies in recent months is just having 2 pages of open space to create daily logs as I go throughout the week. So each morning is when I create the header for that day. I use as much space as I want, and then the next day I start my next daily with a new header. I'll put up a picture so hopefully that makes more sense, but I've liked this system because I'm not confined to a pre-drawn out space for each day. The space I use for each daily varies dramatically, and sometimes I don't even make a daily, especially on weekends. So the end result is that sometimes I could fit almost 2 weeks worth of dailies in these 2 pages, or sometimes this might only be enough space for just a few days. It just depends on how detailed I need to get with my task list or how much journaling I'm doing. So instead of treating these pages as specifically a spread for the first week of October, I'm leaving it open to kind of just have a running space for dailies for the entire month. I'll move on to the next 2 pages whenever I run out of space on these and just use the same exact layout. You can see I already drew a cat and then a border around these pages. All that blank space within is for the dailies. On the bottom right, I'm creating a task list, and instead of treating this like a weekly task list, my plan is for this to kind of be a rolling priority or whatever needs to be done next list. I have a do section as well in case there are things that need to be done by a certain time. I'm going to go ahead and put in my first daily header, and this spread is all set up. I'm just going to finish up with the art. I am really excited to try this approach next month, and I'll definitely keep you guys in the loop as to how it goes. Also, in case you were wondering about why I highlighted the first few days in the mini calendar, previously in my weeklies I would highlight the week of the month this spread is for, but I figured with this new system I'll just highlight any days contained in these pages, and I figured these first 2 would at least carry me through Thursday, so I just went ahead and highlighted those days to show you my idea. I think that this will be helpful when I'm looking back on these pages. I'll easily see which days are covered. Here's how the final spread turned out, and that completes my October setup. Let's do a final flip through. I'm so happy with the autumn and subtle Halloween vibes of this theme. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this setup. If you want to see an example of spreads like these fully filled out, I'll leave my 2024 part 1 bullet journal flip through for you guys to check out next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm wishing you all a beautiful start to October.